What's up, guys? It's NameCoyote here. Welcome back to another video. So a couple of weeks ago I posted a video where I tried to beat Pikmin 3 without killing any enemies. And the other day I was looking through speedrun.com and I saw a minimum throws category, but it didn't list how many throws were actually required to beat the game. Funnily enough, I just checked and they straight up removed the category altogether. Anyway, today we'll be beating Pikmin 3 Deluxe without throwing a Pikmin, which, to be clear, is not possible. So, today we'll be figuring out exactly how many throws are required to beat Pikmin 3 Deluxe. First, let's go over some rules. Rule number 1, I can only throw Pikmin when absolutely necessary. So basically, only if the game literally requires me to throw a Pikmin to progress in the story, I can throw one, but every other time I can't. Now, this obviously causes a few problems. Number 1, killing enemies will be made more difficult by virtue of the fact that throwing Pikmin is usually how you take them out. Plus, getting fruits off the ground will be impossible since we can't throw Pikmin. And just to be clear, that's off of the ground, not off the ground, whatever. And of course, progressing the story and doing typical acts like throwing Pikmin across a gap will be made so much more difficult. Other than that though, there really aren't any other rules. If I can avoid throwing Pikmin by going out of bounds, I'm gonna try to do so. But for all you purists, I'll make sure to put a glitchless counter in the top left, in addition to the literal bare minimum amount of throws using glitches. Anyway though, leave your guesses in the comments on how many we'll need to throw. I'm interested in seeing your guesses because in hindsight, the answer is a lot different than I predicted it to be. Anyway, while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. I'm getting close to 100 subscribers, so who knows? Maybe you'll be that fated one that'll push us over the milestone. Without any further ado though, let's get started. Starting off like usual in Charlie's crash site, we almost immediately have to throw Pikmin. Since we have the required throwing tutorial when we encounter the Pikmin, we have to throw a whopping 10 Pikmin right off the bat. Now, I tried literally 1,000 times, throwing fast, throwing slow. I tried whistling just a few Pikmin, but you have to whistle every last one before you're able to throw them, and basically, there's no way around these 10 throws. So put them up there on the counter. Needless to say, it's not a good start, and it doesn't get any better. We have a few mushrooms blocking our path, and because we can't charge our Pikmin yet, we've got 2 more throws. Just make sure you throw at this far left mushroom, which will always ensure that you have a path onward without using any more throws, and make sure you throw at the smaller of the 2 huge mushrooms. And the rest of Charlie's crash site doesn't need any throws, so let's move on to Alf's. And we have another throwing tutorial. This time we only need to throw 3 Pikmin to free the red onion, but still, come on Nintendo. Then we've automatically unlocked the charge function, so we get all the way through until the end of the day 1 without using another throw. So that's 15 throws right at the start. And this is the part of the run where you think, wow, my guess was either really low, or if this is the day with the most throws, my guess is way too high. And I assure you, it's both. Now it's day 2, which means we're going to the Garden of Hope. Once again, we can charge our way through the early stages of this area, and then we come upon the strawberry, which I promptly ignore and head into the rock cave for some fighting. And, oh no. Alf literally taunts us that we can't kill this guy with charging, and because its movement pattern is strangely random, I spent a good 30 minutes trying to figure out the minimum throws to take the Medusal Circer down. Eventually, I settle for 4 throws. Now, this might not be the exact definitive answer, but on normal mode, which, by the way, is the mode I'm playing on because it requires the least amount of throws, I'm just gonna go ahead and say the answer is 4, which means we have 19 throws up on the board. Oh, yeah, and for the record, you can't kill this guy with Alf's punches, because touching this suction cup thing will just get you caught in it. But with our newly freed rockers, let's get a move on. Time to free Brittany, and you might think that you have to do 6 more throws here, but you don't. If you just have a single Pikmin break down the wall that's blocking her exit, when she forces you to throw her across the gap to grab the lemon, you only have to do 2 throws. So I just disband my party and take a single rock to free Brittany, which means we're at 21 throws. Anyway, we continue charging our way through the Garden of Hope until we reach this area. I'm not aware of any glitch that would allow us to go through this Throwless, so let's just say it's absolutely required to throw Brittany over here. As for the Pikmin though, there's this little thing called swimming. Actually, for the Pikmin, drowning. But I mean, these guys can literally jump straight out of water. Like, think of the physics of that. They can't even jump on land, and yet they jump off of a liquid? I think Nintendo was lying to us about Pikmin not being good swimmers. I mean, look at this. Anyway, we can use their little jumping out of water animation to get them up this tiny ledge, thus requiring a grand total of 0 throws. Now, it's time for the Armored Mod ad, and boss fights are pretty standard in this run, so I guess I'll just skip to the end. Despite the unusually long time it takes, eventually the Armored Mod ad is defeated. He does give us access to the phone though, which I gladly carry back. And, wait a minute, that sounds oddly familiar. What do you mean I'm lazy? Do you have any idea how long it takes me to write these scripts? If it's good the first time, it's gotta be good the second time, right? Oh, yeah, and this whole thing about boss fights being standard in this run is totally wrong, by the way. That's all besides the point, though, because Day 2 is finally over, with 21 throws so far. It's Day 3, and that means we're in the newly unlocked Distant Tundra. Thanks to Alf's subpar piloting skills, Brittany is stuck in a cave. Okay, I'll stop. Shockingly though, we don't need any throws to get out of the yellow Pikmin cave, since the only pellet that requires them is completely unnecessary to get. On the outside, I wind up building the bridge, and it's actually pretty simple, since you can have Alf's Pikmin swim over to Brittany's side. This is where it gets difficult though, because in order to push this 20 ball down and clear the path into the next area, we need to throw 21 times. And frankly, I won't stand for it. So double the count for glitchless, will you? Meanwhile, I know a little thing or two about glitching the Distant Tundra, because I literally spent an entire video going over it while performing the Double Charlie glitch. But essentially, there's a way to skip that entire cave section and just go straight to the Behemoth Phosbat Arena. I'll show the path on screen right now, but all you really need to know is that we skipped the entire Charlie's crash site and are now fighting the Phosbat. Also, for anyone that's not willing to accept that Nintendo did zero patchwork for Pikmin 3 Deluxe, it's not just 21 throws we need to add, it's 31. Reason being, in the first room you encounter the Phosbat, you have to activate this light via throwing 10 yellow Pikmin. So, just to be clear, it's 52 for glitchless, and still 21 for by any means necessary. And remember what I said about boss fights not being standard? Well, here's the perfect example. Since activating the big light requires you to throw 20 Pikmin, it'd be best if we didn't do that. So I used the 3 accessible smaller lights to chip the Phosbat down without throwing at all. It actually just occurred to me that I should have done this in the pacifist run and not killed all the baby Phosbats, but I can't really do anything about that now. So anyway, we got Charlie, and what is going on here? Yeah, I'd lose 18 Pikmin to Sunset because they got stuck behind a wall that would normally be knocked down by the metal 20 ball. Oh well. Distant Tundra's done, and let's move on to the Tropical Wilds for Day 5. Now, supposedly there's a glitch here where you can drop a captain out of bounds and up onto the path that leads to the boss fight, but I just couldn't get it. So let me show you my glitch-free way. On the other side of a sand wall, there's a river that you're supposed to build a bridge over before you cross. Funny part is, Nintendo What is estimated? Funny part is, Nintendo underestimated my team of Olympic swimmers. That's right, you can just straight up cross this river with a full squad of Pikmin. Then just follow the only path there is and you'll come across this tree stump. Then throw your captains over like usual, then whistle your squad and walk into the loading zone. And that means we've got to add 3 to our glitchless counter, meaning we're at 55 and still at 21 for glitches allowed. It's time for the sand belching mirror slug, and yeah, we win. That's literally all there is to say about it. We grab the cell phone and, of course, the watermelon, and that's the end of Day 5. Which means it's Day 6 and it's time to go to the Twilight River. Building the bridge over the Winged Onion doesn't require any throws, but on the other side, we've got another aerial enemy. I throw 3 rocks at it, since that's how many it takes in Pikmin 3, but did you catch that? It dies after 2. Now, I did some research, and I don't think it's possible for an arachnode to die from a single Pikmin, but 2 Pikmin seems pretty viable, so add 2 throws up there on both counters. Once we have winged Pikmin, we can intercept the transmission from Olimar with a slightly different shaped face than I remember, but whatever. Then building the bridge to the Scornet Maestro does get a little bit difficult. By a little bit difficult, of course, I mean that none of the pieces take any effort to get whatsoever. And you may think that we have to throw our captain onto this mushroom to get the last set of pieces, but we don't. Even though that's what I did in the actual run, you can literally just charge your winged Pikmin up here from the water, so no throws needed. Day 7 and the bridge is already done, and since the Scornet Maestro is a conductor of being a lame boss fight, we defeat it easily. I also take out the Snaggart while I'm there, since I'm super cool. Anyway, though, that means exiting the Twilight River, we've got 57 throws glitchless and 23 throws with glitches. Day 8, and we forget to set the alarm clock, so Louie helps us wake up. It's a bit extreme, but I mean, he got the job done, right? We rescue the blue Pikmin, and there's another glitch we can pull off to teleport onto the path that leads to the boss, but once again, I suck. So I just build the teacup the normal way and throw my captains across. meaning we have to add 3 more throws. And in case you were wondering, yes, I used winged Pikmin to, rather expertly may I say, kill the bug-eyed Crawmad. After whistling my squad and entering the boss arena, it's time to fight the Maraclops, and I can proudly say that I did not lose a single Pikmin to him. He was actually super easy this time around. Pretty sure these rocks literally jumped out of his mouth, and I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but hey, I did it deathless. Anyway, that means glitchless is 60 throws, and there's no difference to the with glitches tally, even after we get Louie back to the onion. And with that, it's time for the classic twist that the backstabbing, traitorous, lemon-faced weirdo is in fact not Olimar, meaning we have to go find the real Olimar at the Formidable Oak. Side note, why is it that Olimar just happens to have the single piece of treasure on him that's important to the plot? Like, every single treasure in Pikmin 2 is carried directly to the onion, so why did Olimar just pick up the Cosmic Drive Key and be like, what if I just keep this on me at all times, even though it's the most valuable item we have and I'm going to dangerous areas where it could be lost forever, even though the financial well-being of my company and else... I can't say that in one sentence. And all its employees are at stake. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Why is the Cosmic Drive Key not on their crashed ship? Okay, side note over because it's day 9, and we're entering the Oak. First stop is the pushable bag that there's actually a new trick for pushing down backwards. Apparently, you can just spam charge with winged Pikmin and they'll do all the work for you. By the way, this trick was told to me by Kirby42. If you're watching this video, big thanks, man. Now that I've skipped over to this new path, I build the bridge across to the next area, and as always, I'm just running around this circle with Brittany so that she doesn't get caught. Once I'm done building the bridge, I start work on the bridge. Just the fact that this sentence can exist in a Pikmin playthrough is extremely sad because it shows how absolutely lame progressing through the areas feels sometimes. But Pikmin is perfect, so like, it really doesn't. Anyway, the second bridge is done, so I turn on the second light of the area, and normally you'd have to turn on the third light, which would require 11 throws, but using a glitch that I didn't even know existed, you can go out of bounds and teleport to the exit to the cave. Surprisingly though, there's a way to avoid these 11 throws even without glitches. Instead of turning on the light, have Olimar get carried by winged Pikmin and simply throw Brittany across the path you normally bloom with the light. Also, what is going on with the Plasm Wraith right here? My man got stretched a little, didn't he? Then, instead of breaking down the wall here, charge your winged Pikmin at the clipboard across this chasm. May I say this was a pretty clutch play I pulled right here. I mean, look how close the Plasm Wraith is. Anyway, that means we need to add one more to the glitchless, and we escape the cave, which of course means it's time to fight the Plasm Wraith. This time around, the Plasm Wraith is actually a little bit difficult. The problem is that for some reason you can't charge your Pikmin at the Plasm Wraith's elemental cubes. Like, it's literally impossible. The only one I managed to break was the Crystal Cube, and just barely. So it winds up taking us a pretty long time, and we lose quite a few Pikmin, but finally, we take him down for the count. This, of course, means the end of the run. So how many throws are required to beat Pikmin 3 Deluxe? The answer? 61. And even better, using glitches, a measly 23 throws. Check the description where I'll make sure to correct any issues. Anyway, this whole thing took me a grand total of 4 hours and 45 minutes. I definitely wouldn't call it a speedrun, but hey, it's good for the first try. And it proved some pretty good results. This game is a lot more polished than the previous two, to which I'm almost certain you can beat Pikmin 2 with 0 throws, by the way, so it makes sense that the game's main mechanic is used a lot. Regardless though, this run was far from boring. So that's that. Pikmin 3 Deluxe beaten without throwing a Pikmin, or at least our best effort at it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, since I do Pikmin and Pikmin challenges all the time on this channel. Before we go, thanks to Ice Cube's current world record speedrun of this game for the majority of the glitches that I reference here and can't perform. This guy is really good. And as always, make sure to leave your suggestions in the comments down below. I'm especially looking for a 100 subscriber special suggestion, since I had an idea and it just didn't turn out. So if you have an idea, make sure you let me know. But that is all for now, so I thank you all so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all in the next one.
Monty,